Welcome back to the Believe in Kings podcast. I'm your host, Mark Haynes, and we got a lot to talk about. On this episode, we're going to talk about the Malik Monk situation, what Scott Perry's doing in free agency, Mike Brown to the New York Knicks, Nique Clifford, the 24th pick in the draft, just arrived in Sacramento. That and more on this episode of Believe in Kings. Now, you're going to have to bear with me this episode. I'm actually out on the golf course right now. So you're going to hear some things. You might hear a plane in the background. You may hear a car go by or a golf cart or something. But I had to get on here real quick and talk to my people. Now, what I want y'all to do is let me know, on one of my social media platforms, Mark Haynes NBA, on my YouTube page, anywhere. I want to know what y'all thoughts are. I've been looking at comments and things, especially regarding the Malik Monk situation and his name popping up in trade rumors and people saying he don't have any trade value, which I find not true. From people that I've spoken with or whatever, it doesn't look like that's the case. But drop some comments on my pages and stuff or whatever, and whether it's Twitter or X, excuse me, if it's X, Threads, whatever, let me know y'all thoughts or whatever. But from the people I've talked to and my sources or whatever, it's not that Malik Monk is like, oh, they're trying to get rid of Malik Monk. But when you look at the situation, like, who else are you going to trade? Who else has it ain't value as in the player, but contracts matter and numbers, all that matters. The easiest, most team friendly deal is the Malik Monk deal. So is if you guys want, if we're looking at Scott Perry and what he's trying to do in Sacramento, what Monty McNair wasn't able to do in Sacramento, he said it from the jump. He's trying to build, a team that's built on sustainable winning. Like, you want to win, year after year, and eventually compete for a championship. Now, I don't think anybody believes the Sacramento Kings are championship competitors this coming season. But then there's the question of, well, are we tanking or are they, what's going on or whatever? And you look at some of the moves that Scott is making or whatever, Dennis Schroeder, you know, um, Dario Saric, Drew Ebanks is supposed to, is intended on signing as soon as he clears waivers. These are all, positions that the Sacramento Kings needed help in. You know, now are they the best players? Are they the best options out there or whatever? Probably not. But again, money talks. So when you go back to, the Dennis Schroeder deal and how Malik Monk popped up in the signing trade or whatever and all that stuff, how I see it, I think it was more of just negotiation tactics or whatever. Like, Scott Perry's job is to make the Sacramento Kings organization a better team. That's what he's supposed to do. That's his job. And we all love Malik Monk. So other people would love Malik Monk. Other teams would love to have Malik Monk. And you look at that Detroit situation with what they got going on. You already, they got Dennis Schroeder. He's the Dennis Schroeder deal. From my understanding, the Dennis Schroeder deal was an independent transaction. It wasn't going in saying we want to trade, we want to do a sign trade with Malik for Dennis. And it didn't happen or whatever. But if it was to happen, 'cause I think it's still a couple of days until it's official. But if it was to happen, I'd imagine that Sacramento is the A side in this deal because Detroit they could lose. Not only with losing, not getting Schroeder, and not getting anybody in return. you also losing Malik Beasley, who's going through the federal investigation. So it kind of makes Sacramento the A side where you could say, as long as it makes sense contractually, Sacramento could throw anybody name in there who fits that pay range that we're looking at, that 18 million range or whatever. You could throw anybody in there and say, look, either give us, do a sign and trade and maybe get Schroeder and you get let's leave it at Malik or whatever. You take Malik, you can have Malik because you're gonna need a shooting guard, you're gonna need a guard, but also give us Schroeder and some picks. If you got Schroeder and some picks, you get some first rounds from Detroit because the one thing Detroit doesn't want to do, if you look at what's going on here in Sacramento, you don't want to. It sucks to take steps forward and then have to take steps back immediately, and that's what the Sacramento Kings did with the Beam team, the original team. Ended up being the number 3 seed in the West or whatever, and everything looks uphill. And then the next season, it's a drop. You don't even make the play in, or you make the play in, you eliminate them. Excuse me. Then the next season, you win 40 games and don't even make the play in. So you're going backwards. You have to make moves to go forward. Detroit made the playoffs. They put together a great team last season that made the playoffs. They were competitive. They gave Cade Cunningham some players that helped him turn into an all-star for the first time. And then you get there once and you lose Beasley, lose other players, and now you're out. That's what you don't want to do. You want to try to keep that momentum going in your organization and show guys you're going in the right direction. If you lose, Schroeder, you lose Beasley, and you get nothing in return, that Detroit team is not going to be as good. So I felt like this is like a Floyd Mayweather tactic. It's like, hey, I'm the A side. Either you take this deal. Yeah, we're asking for this and that, whatever the case may be. I'm just throwing out my scenario of what I would do, if I was Scott Perry. I would say, hey, sure, I'll help you out by giving you Malik. Your team will stay relevant because Malik is a really, really good player in this NBA and in the NBA, and he will help your team stay where they got last year or even be better. I think he'd be a better fit over there. But in return, you got to help us. And with helping us, yeah, I want Schroeder and I want some picks. I think if that happened, I think all of Sacramento, I think Sacramento fans are very happy. But it just sounds and looks very, very ugly right now because it's like, it looks like he's shopping them around. It looks like the media is saying, it ain't looking like it. The media is saying Malik Monk has no value. Nobody wants him. That's not true. There's teams out there that won't. But right now, we see this every year. Free agency, everybody has their first, second, third options or whatever. That is if if Malik is going anywhere, it will be to a team that wants him. Maybe that's not right now. Maybe it's down the road. Maybe he stays in Sacramento. Who knows? But I think that's what's going on from what I'm told and the sources that I talk to that's close to the organization and throughout the league. That's more of the story. It's not that they're trying to shop Malik Monk around, but it's more of a conversation in order to try to make this team. Because end of the day, like I said, nobody believes that this team is a championship contending team, right? I don't think nobody believes that. However, if you can figure out a way to make a move to change that or to speed up that trajectory of, getting there, of course you do it. And as a fan, of course you would want Scott Perry to pull that trigger. And I think the team is in good hands. I think Scott Perry knows what he's doing. I think Scott Perry has a lot of work to do. You know, he has a lot of cleaning up. Monty McNair, um, you know, left the organization in a very strange predicament, to say the least. But you know, it's gonna take work, and sometimes you know, sometimes before getting better, things might get worse a little bit. It's not. I don't think tanking is the right thing, but you know, when you if you ever we all wash dishes. When you wash the dishes, man, you know, the sink is all dirty. You got food particles flying, you know, all over floating around in the water and stuff. And you gotta, you know, put the dirty. Well, how I do it, I don't know how y'all do it, but I put all the dirty dishes on one side of the sink. If you got the dual sink, that is, put the dirty dishes over there. Now it's real messed up because everything dirty is on one side. I use the clean side to rinse everything off or whatever. Get it looking decent. That's it. It's not clean yet. We're not done. Some of y'all might be done after just rinsing it. That's just nasty. So I'm if you're doing that, if you just rinsing it and you call it clean, dry it off, that I'm gonna tell you how to teach you how to wash dishes. So you put the dirty dishes on one side, single one by one. You grab them, you rinse them off on the clean side. After rinsing them off, you put them in the dishwasher. That's when you run the cycle or whatever. You don't just go from dirty to dishwasher and let the dishwasher do all the work. That's not how you do it. Rinse it off first, then put it in the dishwasher to get it clean. Scott Perry is doing that with the Sacramento Kings. Piece by piece, you know, one day at a time. He's grabbing the dirty dishes that Monty McNair left behind. He's rinsing things off, and he's eventually putting them in the dishwasher. Right now, he's just getting all the dirty dishes together. You know, and that's, you know, figuring out what the plan is. Once you figure out the plan with the team and where, you know, where you think the team can go, that's the rinsing the dishes off. If everything works out and you make it back to the playoffs and you start thinking you got pieces to actually win, that's putting it in the dishwasher and letting it clean up. That's where you want to get. And it's a process. And, you know, it's cliche. You know, Philadelphia started it, but you got to trust the process, and that's really what it is, or whatever. So, I think so far this summer, um, I think it's been a good summer for the Sacramento Kings. Has it been the best? No, but I think it's been good. You got a first rounder when you wasn't expecting to get a first rounder. That was a main goal coming in for Scott. You know, in that situation, and you got Nique Clifford at the 24th pick, and he just arrived today. I mean, not today. Excuse me. My bad. He arrived last night, yesterday. He was greeted by fans and a few media members. He'll have his press conference tomorrow on the 3rd. Yeah, today is the 2nd. He'll have his press conference on the 3rd. And he's another guy that fits a position that the Kings have lacked, you know, the last few years. They've been undersized. He's a 6'6", or 6'5", 6'6", 200-pound guard, shooting guard who can play the small forward or whatever. He can really play basketball. He's an older player. Like I talked about it, I don't remember which pod. I got like 3, 4 pods, so forgive me. But I talked about it recently or whatever. Like I like like seasoned college players, and that's what he is. You know, he comes in, I think 23 years old or whatever. He comes in with maturity. He comes in with an understanding of how to play team basketball. Do you expect him to come in and average 20? Absolutely not. You got Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan for that. You got Malik Monk for that. You got Keegan Murray, who we hope to get closer to that range. But you need guys that can just play basketball. What Nique Clifford in year one, what would be a win, in my opinion, if he comes in and do everything that the Kings thought Chris Duarte was gonna do. You know, you come in, you play defense. You come in, you knock down open shots. You come in, you make plays. here and there, but in the system, be a great rotation guy, a guy you could depend on if Levine or DeRozan is in foul trouble, or if Levine and DeRozan is hurt. And I think Nique Clifford has all those tools, to do that. And being, like I said, a seasoned college player, 23-year-old, not a young rookie. He you don't have to wait on his body to develop like you have to do a lot of young guys. Like he's a guy that can play now, and as far as his future, you know, we have to wait and see and figure out, what he turns into. But I say that I am very, very excited. I thought he was a great pick because if you looked at you looked at him in college, like he's a dog. He's a dog. He could play basketball. He can. I really like him. I really like him. We'll see what I haven't checked out. Much of the I haven't seen much of the other rookies just throughout the league, but I'm very, very excited to see Clifford in front of the rest of the field when summer league starts on the 10th. It is July 10th, so I can say that on the 10th. But yeah, man, I just wanted to. Oh, Mike Brown, Mike Brown. News has surfaced that after I think it was two interviews that they said he went through with the New York Knicks, who had one of the weirdest coaches searches ever. I was waiting for them to request to the Sacramento Observer, the newspaper that I work for. I was waiting for them to request to interview me because they was asking to interview anybody that had a job, and they ended up getting a guy who just lost his job. He was just here in Sacramento last season, um, who was fired by Monty McNair. That's the Monty McNair era. It was a awkward and ugly breakup, but not even a year later, looks like Mike Brown's going to get another opportunity, and he's getting an opportunity with a team that was very close to being in the NBA Finals. One series away from being in the NBA Finals. And obviously they feel like Tom Thibodeau just didn't have what it takes to get over the hump. And maybe Mike Brown is that guy. So, shout out to Mike Brown. It looked like he found himself in a good situation. Um, that's a team that fits his style of coaching. And it's gonna be interesting seeing them when the Knicks and the Kings match up against each other next season. But I'm sure it'll be a lot of dialogue and talk. Even although Monty McNair and others are gone, it's a different organization. But Vivek sits courtside, so just to see the interactions between some of the people, some of the players, or whatever, whatnot. But that's neither here nor there. We'll talk about that when that time comes. I just wanted to jump on with you guys to touch on those subjects, touch on the summer. And like I said, jump in my comments on whatever page. I think I already posted some questions about how you feel. Let me know how you feel about Dennis Schroeder. I didn't say much about Schroeder, but I will say I think he's a good player. I think he's a good fit for the team. Does he put the Kings over the hump? No, I don't think that. But it's a piece that puts you on I think you're going in the right direction, you know, with getting, some of the best available, 'cause like I said, could you have done better? Maybe. But I do think when you're hearing this Malik Monk stuff and you're hearing about trades, that tells me that the Sacramento Kings, Scott Perry in particular, is doing and open to doing whatever it takes to get the team on the right and on back in the right direction. So, not all change is good, but in order to get to the good side, this team, we all know, has to make changes. Now, will they work? We just gotta wait and see. But that's all. I just wanted to jump on here real quickly. God, I could not get that out. It's hot, and I'm about to get back to I'm not golfing. I was go lie. I was gonna be like, but get back to golfing. I'm watching people golf. I'm just out here, I can't golf. I'm interested in learning. And the golf clothes and stuff is fly. You might see me summer league walking around Vegas in my golf attire, even though I can't golf at all. I do top golf, and the best thing I'm probably at top golf is it ain't the hitting the balls. It's that's crazy right there, but it ain't hitting the golf balls. It's having a good time and having some drinks. So if you see me at top golf, that's what you will see me doing. But anyways, this is the Bleav in Kings podcast. I'm your host, Mark Haynes. Follow me at Mark Haynes NBA on all platforms. Make sure you go to the closers and check it. Follow what we doing over there. Got a whole lot of coverage. I will be back very very soon with another episode of the Bleav in Kings pod. But until then, I'm signing out. So peace.